Hello and greetings from California. Professor Jay's asked me to drop in for a few minutes and just to say hello and to congratulate you on the work that you're doing with service management. I hope you're going to have a great conference. I know you will because you're in the hands of one of the world's experts. Jay is one of the noted authorities on service management, and he's done a great deal to carry on the message. For those of you who are not familiar with me or my work, I might just give you a quick historical perspective to show how I got involved with service and management, what I was originally trying to do, and perhaps where I think things are going now. My first experience with service management was back in 1983, and I was in Scandinavia at the time working with some Danish management consultants, and they kept talking about this thing called service management. They kept raving about the Scandinavian Airlines experience, and so I inquired more, and the more I heard about it, the more fascinated I became, because it just struck me as those once in a decade or once in a generation ideas, a kind of a transforming idea that really made a great deal of difference. And the notion that we've been trying to operate service businesses with manufacturing thinking has to go, and we have to really develop new models and new concepts. And this service management struck me as the germ of this new idea. And what the Scandinavians had done so far was essentially a motivational kind of a program to try to get all of the employees all involved and intense focus on customer value. And I thought that the whole concept needed some implementing models and some concepts. So that's the part that I took on. When I came back to the U.S., I hooked up with a friend of mine who was a consultant, and we started using some of these concepts with our clients, and we wrote a white paper, kind of a concept paper, that laid out basically the elements of service management as we saw them at the time, and tried to apply a model which I called the service triangle, which puts the customer in the center, the strategy, the people, and the systems rotating in a triangular form around the customer, and that's led to the idea of customer centrism. And so we got such a strong reaction from our clients that we decided that we would go ahead and write a book about it, and that led us to Service Management, Service America, subtitled Doing Business in the New Economy. And that book did extremely well. It sold over 500,000 copies, and it activated some energy in the United States that we found very, very productive. What I might offer in just a couple of minutes that I have available is a comparison between service management as it began and service management as where I think it is today. And the big dividing line was the occurrence of the internet. Bear in mind that in 1985 there was no internet, and we barely even had computers. We had to suffer through what the geeks were trying to give us in terms of computers and terminology and language, and it was really well into the 80s. By the 90s, perhaps, by the time we saw the kind of technology that could really do some of the things that we wanted to do. And the early days of the internet, what seemed to me happened was that the geeks discovered business. And so they rushed into this idea, we're all going to make a lot of money. And the first thing that most of them seemed to do was to automate the customer interface. And so if we can get the client, the customer, to do as much of the work as we can cut our costs. So I think the initial impression in the U.S., at least, was that this idea of the internet and online capability and e-commerce would be a great way to reduce the cost of your operation. And at that point, we were still in a kind of a transactional thinking process. That service was basically a transaction, a set of deliverables, a commodity, an interaction between the customer and the business. And again, this was the capitalist model that was pre-internet, before we had the online capabilities. Now when you start to look at all the things we can do with digital technology, service at a distance, knowledge at a distance, human contact, decent quality contact over a link. And now what we're seeing is we're moving from a transactional phase where we commoditize a service and we try to reduce the cost to a relational phase, where now I think what we're trying to do is move to a much more enriched customer experience, an empowered customer, perhaps a partnership relationship with the customer, and the term of art that I know that you all are using is co-creation of value with the customer. And I think that's where things are going. And I think what we're doing is moving toward a sort of enterprise model where the customer, we the primary service enterprise, suppliers, support people, all kinds of other entities that get involved, form an overall enterprise. This is no longer the capitalist corporation. It's now an extended global strategic enterprise. And with that kind of thinking process, we can really create a kind of a world in which the customers, the suppliers, the business partners are all customers in a sense. So we're talking about joint value creation or value creation across the entire spectrum of capabilities. So that's where I think we're going. I think we have some enormous possibilities. I'm a little bit sad to say that service management has not been as popular in the recent years in the States, but my understanding is that it's going strong in India, it's going strong in parts of Europe and Scandinavia, and I think maybe one day we'll see a comeback in the United States. And as we do, we'll bring it back into a second phase, which is what we're into now, and that is a much more enriched experience of the customer, and the wise use of digital technology combined with the human touch. So high tech, high touch. And I think those are the great possibilities. So anyway, I hope you'll have a great conference. You're in good hands with Professor Jay. Take care, be healthy, and do good work.